Hello everyone, welcome to another installment of the 33%. I'm Ruff and I'm going to do something a little different today. I started a poll last week in the group, the 33%, like none of y'all voted on except for 4 people, and I think it was 4, maybe 5. One person said to do Commander deck reviews and strategies. And I don't really know. I've got my decks, and I play different than some people, I feel like, but I want to just go over one of my decks and see how long it is, and if it's not too terrible long, I'll probably stop the video and organize my other deck like I've got this one organized, then do a review of it. I might just do 2. But this is my blue deck. It is an artifact deck. Mostly, it's got a ton of instants and a ton of artifacts. We got 31 lands. There's 20 islands, 1 snow-covered island, 10 special lands. But I'm gonna go through all the cards. My commander is Muzzio, Visionary Architect. He's from Conspiracy. Pay 3 of generic mana, 1 blue, tap and look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the highest converted mana cost among artifacts you control. You may reveal an artifact card from among them, put it in the battlefield, put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. There's Muzzio. He's full. Alright, so let's see which way I should do this. I guess I'll go over my artifacts first. So I've got, basically, you want to get him out first and have something on the field. Usually by that time you could have a 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop. I got a Elixir Immortality. Pay 2, tap it, gain 5 life, shuffle it into your graveyard. Shuffle it and your graveyard into your library. Mind Crank. Whenever opponent loses life, that player puts the top of his or her library, puts that many cards from the top of his or her library into their graveyard. There's another card that goes with that. Something really works. Isolation Cell. Whenever an opponent casts a creature spell, that player loses 2 life unless they pay 2. So those 2 kind of work together. You're milling them all the time. That's a 2 drop and a 4 drop. But if you play the 2 drop and you do Muzzio's ability, if you got the 2 drop on the field, and you'll basically dig, or you'll just dig 2 cards at that time. And as they're going up, you're getting bigger and bigger cards. There's Elixir Immortality. There's that was from M13. Isolation Cells from New Phyrexia. It's 4 drop. Mind Crank's also from New Phyrexia. I think Mind Crank's got some other printings. Aether Flux Reservoir, whenever it costs 4. Whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn. Pay 50 life. Aether Flux Reservoir deals 50 damage to target creature player. That card is from Aether Revolter Kaladesh 1, and it's probably honestly coming out of this deck. It was one of the ones that I was trying out to kind of see, and I drew it. I've dug for it and hit it twice, and I've drew it once, and it doesn't really do that much for me. Mirror Works. This is from Scars of Mirrodin. Costs 5. Whenever another non-token artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 2. If you do, put a token that's a copy of that artifact onto the battlefield, and you can do that as many times as you want. So you can have like 6 Darksteel Forges, which is nice. Sands of Delirium. This is another one. The only reason it's in here is because it's cheap. It does help into the meal part of it. It's 3 drop from M13. Pay X, tap it. Target player puts the top X cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Generally, I haven't used it once. I've played it 2 or 3 times, and I've always got something else to do with my mana. So it's kind of it's in there right now, but it's not a powerhouse card. This is Darksteel Forge from, I think it's Darksteel. It's the original one it come from. Artifacts you control are indestructible. Destroy effects and lethal damage. Don't destroy them. Cost 9. That's puts in a lot of work. And I've considered putting in Mycosynth Lattice, but Mycosynth Lattice turns everybody else's stuff into artifacts as well. But I considered putting in Mycosynth Lattice and March of the Machines. And there's another card that makes everything have Shroud, either all artifact creatures. I think it's all artifact creatures have Shroud. So then my stuff couldn't be targeted. Ward of Bones, each opponent who controls more creatures than you can't play creature cards. Same is true for artifacts, enchantments, and lands. It's a 6-drop from Eventide, I think. It's from the Lorwyn block, I remember that. Worn Pirestone, cost 3. It's from one of the commander decks. This one is. Here's Battlefield Tap. Tap to add 2 mana to your mana pool. I mean, it's just a mana rock. Navarro's Disc. Here's Battlefield Tapped. 4-drop. This one's from a commander set too. It's been reprinted a ton. Pay 1, tap it, destroy all artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. But if you have Forge out and you disc, all your stuff stays. Crawl Space. No more than 2 creatures can attack you each combat. That's a good card. I put in most of my decks to start with, but it kind of depends on who you're playing with, how effective that is. Like if you're playing with somebody that has a Goblin Overrun or a white deck, it could help. Thran Dynamo costs 4, tap, add 3 colorless mana to your mana pool. It's the old one. Felwar Stone from one commander sets. This one is. Cost 2. Add to your mana pool 1 mana of any color that the land an opponent controls could produce. I run this one, and I run Ashnod's Altar and something else. It makes mana of any color. Is it Ashnod's Altar? It may not be Ashnod. Maybe. Anyways, because some stuff you've got to pay to you gotta pay certain color mana to do stuff, like to attack your opponent and stuff, so it helps. Thought Vessel costs 2, have no maximum head size, add 1 to your mana pool, just another mana rock. Vidalcan Ori, you may play non-land cards anytime you play an instant, so it gives everything you have flash. Pretty good. Except lands. Gilded Lotus, I don't know if I showed everybody that. Gilded Lotus from M13, tap, add 3 to your mana pool, cost 5. 3 of any color, any one color. Soul Ring, cost 1, makes 2 mana. Sky Diamond comes into play, tap, add 1 blue to your mana pool, play this ability as a mana source. And Ashnod's Altar, sacrifice a creature, add 2 colors, mana to your mana pool, play this ability as a mana source. This also, there's a lot of decks that I play against that people make you sacrifice stuff, and you can't really do nothing about it. So with that, at least, I could sack something and have some mana and screw up something else of theirs. Now this is my artifact creatures, and yeah, I think this is all my artifact creatures. There's 2 creatures in here that are not artifacts. And remember, you can hit all these off Muzzio's ability. Like you can Muzzio for 3 because you got Sands of Delirium out and draw a Platinum Angel. It's pretty awesome. Platinum Angel has flying. You can't lose the game. Your opponents can't win the game. It costs 7. It's 4/4 with flying. Master of Ethereum's Power. It's from, I don't know what this one's from. It's originally from the Lara block. Power and Toughener each equal number of artifacts you control. Other artifact creatures you control get +1/+1. Master of Ethereum. Golem de Mycosyntico. I'm just kidding. Mycosynth Golem. This is one of the only foreign cards I've got. It's got affinity for artifacts. and it gives all your other artifacts affinity for artifacts. What affinity for artifacts does, if it costs 12 and you've got 12 artifacts, it's free to cast. That's Mixed Synth Golem. Memnite, people laugh about Memnite. He's a 0 drop for 1/1. Sundering, I'll get back to him in a minute. Sundering Titan. When he enters the battlefield or leaves the battlefield, choose a land of each basic land type, and then destroy those lands. It's a 7/10 for 8. So it's a good card, but he's probably he would be one of the first artifact creatures to come out, because it's like his land destruction. I thought that it destroyed all the land. Like when I just read it in passing after I'd opened it and had it, I thought that he destroyed all the land of the type, and he don't. He just destroys one of each. So if each of your opponents is playing, if you're playing one guy that's got a 5-card deck, you can kill one of each of his basic lands if he runs basic lands. I don't. My 5-card, I get screwed on that all the time, where people get to go get basic lands. I don't have any basic lands. Ulamog's Ceaseless Hunger. 10 for 10/10. Whenever you cast Ulamog's Ceaseless Hunger, exile 2 target permanents, has indestructible. Whenever it attacks defended player, exiles the top 20 cards of his or her library. That's just it's not milling them, but because it exiles them instead of going to the graveyard. But it's nice because you're just cutting 20 cards out of their deck. Phyrexian Walker's a 0 for a 0/3. Ornithopter's a 0 for a 0/2 with flying. And those are for this card. Master Transmuter. Return an artifact you control to its owner's hand. You may put an artifact card from your hand on the battlefield for 1 blue and tap it. So I can return a Phyrexian Walker to my hand to play a Sundering Titan, or to play Platinum Angel, or Mixed Synth Golem, or Lightsteel Colossus. Anyways, that's Master Transmuter. Silent Arbiter. Silent Arbiter, 1/5 for 4. No more than one creature can attack each combat. No more than one creature can block each combat. Worm Coil Engine is a 6/6 for 6. That's Silent Arbiter. Has Death Touch, Lifelink. When it is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a 3/3 colorless worm artifact creature token with Death Touch and a 3/3 colorless worm artifact creature token with Lifelink on the battlefield. It's just a good card. Metalwork Colossus costs 11. Costs X less to cast, where X is the total converted mana cost of non-creature artifacts you control. Sacrifice 2 artifacts. Return Metalwork Colossus from your graveyard to hand. He's a 10/10 for 10 for 11. But he'll be cheaper generally. Usually you're not paying for these. You're cheating them out. I mean, 90% of the time you're not paying for these cards. Platinum Hyperion, it costs 8. It's an 8/8, and your life total can't change. Darksteel Colossus, it's 11/11 for 11. Trample, Darksteel Colossus is indestructible. If Darksteel Colossus will be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal it, and shuffle it into its owner's library. Lightsteel Colossus, it's a 11/11 for 12. It has Trample and Infect. Indestructible. If it be put in the graveyard from anywhere, reveal it and shuffle it into its library. And Padim, Console of Innovation. Artifacts you control have hexproof. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control the artifact with the highest converted mana cost or tied for the highest converted mana cost, draw a card. So I guess realistically with him, with him and Mixed Synth Lattice, it would that would work, because artifact creatures are artifacts. Go through my sorceries real quick. I don't know if I showed you all these. Darksteel Colossus, Platinum Hyperion, Lightsteel Colossus, Padim. I think it's metalwork floss. If I didn't show y'all that, there's that again. Alright, we got your Taxon probe. It's one blue or a Phyrexian, so you can, it's Phyrexian blue, so you can pay 2 life. Look at target player's hand, draw a card. It's just disruption. Uggin's Insight is 3 colorless, 2 blue, scry X, where X is the highest converted mana cost among permanents you control, and draw 3 cards. So if you've got Master Transmuter out and you play the, and one of the Colossuses, you play this, you can scry 12, 11, 10, 11, or 12, put them how you want them, draw top 3 cards, Master Transmute for something else. It's nice. Serum Visions cost 1, draw a card, scry 2. Washout, it costs 3 of generic mana, 1 blue, return all permanents of the color of your choice to their owner's hands. These are all the sorceries now. Preordained, scry 2, then draw a card for 1. Curse of the Swine. Exile X target creatures. For each creature exiled this way, its controller puts a 2/2 green boar creature token onto the battlefield. It's for 2 blue and X. Thoughtcast has affinity for artifacts. It costs 4 generic and 1 blue. Draw 2 cards. At 5 mana for that, it's ridiculous, but you're like never gonna pay 5 mana for it. It's just not gonna happen. It'll more likely it'll be a 2, maybe 2, 3. Traumatize. Target player puts the top half of his or her library rounded down into his or her graveyard. It's 3 generic, 2 blue, and increasing confusion. 1 blue and X. Target player puts the top X cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. If increasing confusion was cast from a graveyard, that player puts twice that many cards into his or her graveyard instead. Flashback of 1 blue and X. Same as casting it. There's a mill undertone to this. It don't always work out, but there's some mill cards in it, and if it ever gets online, it's pretty oppressive. I've also got the only enchantments: Fraying Sanity. Enchant player at the beginning of each end step. Enchant player puts the top X cards his or her library into his or her graveyard, where X number of cards put in that graveyard from anywhere this turn. So it gets pretty ridiculous. I've only got 2 planeswalkers. There's Fraying Sanity. Increasing confusion. I've got Jace Beleren from M11. He's 1 generic, 2 blue. Each player plus 2. He comes in at 3 plus 2. Each player draws a card. -1. Target player draws a card. -10. Target player puts the top 20 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. And Jace Memory Adept. 3 generic, 2 blue. His +1 is draw a card. Target player then puts the top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard. His 0, he comes in at 4. His 0, target player puts the top 10 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. 0 now. And then his -7, any number of target players each draw 20 cards. His 0, you're literally hitting somebody for 10 a turn. On top of whatever else you can do. You're hitting them for 10 cards a turn. It's just good. We got Mind Static. It costs 3 generic, 1 blue. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 6. These are the instants now. Brainstorm, 1 blue. Draw 3 cards and put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. Counterman, counter target spell. Its controller puts the top 4 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Aetherize, return all attacking creatures to their owner's hands. It's 3 generic and 1 blue. Snap, 1 generic and 1 blue. Return target creature to owner's hand. Untap up to 2 lands. Cyclonic Rift. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. That's 1 generic and 1 blue. Overload, 6 generic and 1 blue. You may cast this spell for its overload cost. If you do, change its text by replacing all instances of target with each. So you return everything. Thought Scour. Target player puts the top 20 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Draw a card for 1 blue. That's stupid good. Hoodwink. 1 generic, 1 blue. Return target artifact, enchantment, or land to its owner's hand. Dramatic Reversal. Untap all non-land permanents you control. 1 generic, 1 blue. Flutterstorm. 1 blue. Counter target instant or sorcery spell unless its controller pays 1 and it's got Storm. Harkle's Recall. 1 generic, 1 blue. Return all artifacts target player owns to his or her hand. Machinate. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of artifacts you control. Put 1 of those cards in your hand, the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. 1 generic and 2 blue. Aether Spouts. 3 generic, 2 blue. For each attacking creature, its owner puts it on the top or bottom of his or her library. Negate. Counter target spell. 1 generic, 1 blue. Mana Leak. 1 generic, 1 blue. Counter target spell unless its caster pays an additional 3. Force of Will. 3 generic, 2 blue. Pay 1 life and remove a blue card in your hand from the game instead of paying Force of Will's casting cost. Effects that prevent redirect damage cannot be used to counter the loss of life. Counter target spell. Mana Drain. 2 blue. Counter target spell at the beginning of your next mana phase. Add an amount of colorless mana to your mana pool equal to that spell's converted mana cost. Scour from Existence. 7. Exile target permanent. That's for Ulamog is what that's for. He's stupid to deal with. Counter spell. 2 blue. Counter target spell. Polymorphous Jest. Until end of turn, each creature target player control loses all abilities and becomes a blue frog with base power and toughness 1. Condescend. Costs 1 blue and X. Counter target spell unless its controller pays X. Scry 2. And Disrupt. Counter target instant or sorcery spell unless its controller pays 1 and draw a card. Then in our land slots, we've got Minimo, School at Water's Edge. Tap to add 1 blue, or tap. Pay 1 blue, tap to untap target legendary permanent. So it's just to untap Muzzio. Like, that's the only reason it's in there. Temple of the False God. Tap, add 2 to your mana pool. Activate this ability only if you control 5 or more lands. Reliquary Tower. Have no maximum hand size. Add 1 to your mana pool. Darksteel Citadel is an artifact land, indestructible. Add 1 to your mana pool. Command Beacon. Add 1 to your mana pool. Sacrifice Command Beacon. Put your commander into your hand from the command zone. That's to save on if they keep bouncing your commander. It's just to save the tax. Command Tower. Tap to add to your mana pool 1 mana of any color your commander's color identity. High Market. Tap. Add 1 mana to your mana pool. Tap. Sacrifice creature. Gain life. That's the other. To sack, if you gotta sacrifice something, you can just tap that to add life for it. Holomar Depths enters the battlefield. Tap. Look at the top 3 cards of the library, then put them back in any order. It taps to add 1 blue. Vivid Creek. It comes in with 2 charge counters. Remove a charge counter, and you can add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Seat of Synod. It just adds 1 blue, and then I got Snow Covered Island. There's a Seat of Synod. Vivid Creek. Halomar Depths, High Market, Command Tower, Command Beacon, Darksteel Citadel, Reliquary Tower, Temple of the False God, and Minimo. I showed that one, I'm pretty sure. Anyways, this is my blue deck. I built it a few years ago for a girl that come in the shop, and it was it wasn't how I'd have played it. Like, she had a bunch of big blue creatures in here, like I can't think of one right now, the Leviathan, Stormtide Leviathan and stuff. That she really liked those. She wanted those in it, and I wanted it to be a awesome artifact deck that does what it does now, and she she didn't want that. Anyways, that's my blue deck, and I mean, I play it. It's one of my decks I enjoy playing. It's not the most competitive or anything. I mean, there's sometimes I can get straight up stomped with it, but anyway, somebody asked to see a Commander deck. If y'all like these, let me know. I'll make more of them. I got a Goblin deck and I got a 5-color deck as well. Anyways, thanks all for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe.